Hi, so I'm Karen Lindwall-Bourg, the compiler and one of the authors in our book, Cultivating Confidence from the Lord. And I'm with Kim Smith, who's one of our authors. I think this is your first time to be published, right?
Nope, it's actually my third.
What? We'll fill in the blanks on that towards the end of the interview then.
Sure. Yeah.
Something big time. So I'm actually the founder of Rhema 3E Services with my husband, where we have Rhema Publishing House and several other enterprises under the umbrella of Rhema everything in our family. And then I am also the former president, the second president. Now we have a third of the National Association of Christian Women Entrepreneurs, which is how this entire book project came to be birthed in the first place. We choose a theme of the year every year, and sometimes a theme of the month or a theme of the quarter, and we didn't choose sub-themes of the month or sub-themes of the quarter. This time we just ran with the theme of the year, cultivating confidence from the Lord. How do you do that? How do you gain enough confidence from the Lord to be who he's called you to be and to do what he's called you to do? And we reached out to many of the people who had spoken to us during the year in different fields under the theme of confidence and said, do you want to write a book together? And one thing led to another. We believe confidently that this is book one of probably many books. We have a youth book in mind. We have a book for children in mind. We have a book for confidence in life, confidence through trials, and then confidence as entrepreneurs, sort of separating those sub-themes out in mind as well. And we'll see how that unfolds probably within this next month. Now, the book popped up on March the 3rd. We're very grateful. It's already in the top 100 in the category entrepreneurship, and in the top, I think it's 300 or something like that for Christian living. Very exciting. That's very exciting. I've been there once before, and so it's very exciting to be there for a second time. So let me stop sharing our intro slide and just get down to business. Kim, you're going to have to fill in the blanks. We were talking about how we met in the first place. And, couldn't come up with an exact date, not that it was really crucial or anything, but it was fascinating because we've been through so many things together in 7 years. So we're thinking 2015, so that's 8 years. But we've been through so many adventures together, some of them related to NACWE, some of them not, that it got confusing. We didn't take notes at the beginning of our relationship about how this all happened.
Right.
It happened. I'm so grateful that it did. I'm grateful for your participation in the book. I think through you, I know Nikki, I think.
Yes.
And who is really, for all things Rhema, my right-hand man, because she's your sister. She's also an author on the book. We tried to get your niece to write a chapter in the book, and hopefully we'll grab her for another venture down the road. But if we had one of those things on the wall with strings attaching us to different places, it would look quite involved.
Yes.
So I'm grateful. You've been here at our home, not our new home, but at our home multiple times. And you're in Missouri and I'm in Texas. And it's just a testimony to me of how God brings people together, people you would have never met without the intervention of the Lord. That's for sure. So
Yes. Yes.
So I'm going to let you, and if you need any prompting, of course, I'll give it to you. But if you don't, just run wild. Talk about how we met. Talk about how you got involved in this book. Talk about how God increased your confidence in writing your own chapter, and maybe how God increased your confidence in other parts of the book as well. And then at the end, I will prompt you. We're going to want to know what else you do, because you do a lot. And how people can how you want people to reach you, find you, and get in touch with you, and that sort of thing. So,
okay.
It's yours.
Okay. So this is exciting. As Karen said, she said God's intervention to bring our relationship together. I think that's a really important thing. And then I think it's funny as a sub note that I have friends who will say the internet, there's nothing good on the internet. And I'm like, but that's how I met my friend Karen. So there are good things, and God uses all things to his purposes. So I'm thankful for Karen, thankful that God brought us together and used the internet as that means. So we met online before we met in person, and I suspect many of you have those kind of relationships, right? But it's so fun when you meet in person, and then there's always that, oh, you're taller than I thought, or you're shorter than I thought, but every bit as beautiful. So thankful to God for that relationship that we've had over those years. And you're right, we've had adventures on all spectrum, traveling to Alton, Illinois, for a fun day, and just you staying in my personal home. It's been a blast. And so I look forward to what God has in store for the future in our relationship, in books and outside of books. So how did I get involved in this book? I'm trying to remember if it was like me seeing that you were doing it and saying, I want to be in it, or if I was asked like, hey, would you want to be in it? I honestly don't remember that part of it. I just remember going, yeah, I'm going to be a writer again. And you mentioned that. So I am in 2 other collaborative books. One, I am an anonymous writer, so you won't necessarily find where I am in that one. But the other one, The Art of Brave Living, that Diane Cunningham put together. So I will say one of the pieces of the confidence part is this being in a collaborative book is actually spurring my confidence to do a book on my own.
Oh, wow.
And
I want to be part of that.
Okay. Well, I do have a collaborative one in mind, and I have a couple of other adult books, but I have 2 kid books that I think are on the horizon, and one really probably very soon, and that Karen will be my publisher.
Oh, yeah.
So
what an honor.
We won't tell you what that is, except that one of them is about piggies. So we'll leave that for suspense down the road. It'll be a fun.
I would have thought it would have been about calves.
Well, that one's coming. I have some great pictures and a great story about pumpkins and pigs. So
okay.
It's coming. So I would say that just the being part of another book and not seeing all the process, but I do have, a little bit of I'd say backside, and I don't get all the details by any means, but having a sister who has been in on the editing part, like, oh, this is cool, that I have these people kind of in my corner already that can help me out when that book time comes for me. So there's just a confidence building in that area. Writing my particular chapter, part of the confidence has come over speaking my story in the last few years in multiple arenas, at conferences, to pastors groups, women's groups, online, whether it's been snippets of my story or kind of God's leading from when I was young till now. And so putting that on paper in print, not just saying it from a stage, if you will, it's in black and white now. That's probably, other than my notes, for me, that's the first time that it's been in print.
Really?
And so there's some confidence there of knowing that God this makes me cry, using my story.
Now, I will say about your stories, because in your particular chapter where you talk about having confidence in your financial life, to leave a legacy with finances and with so many more things, there are multiple stories in that one.
There's chapter. A lot of layers.
I feel like, and I mean, as a counselor, I feel this way too. I feel like I start with the punchline. Like, so you already know where you're getting ready to get from me. Now let's expand on that.
Yes.
And let me give you some scripture to support that and that sort of thing. But you're very a master at, even though I have heard your stories multiple times, I think one of the things that you're really good at is getting the story out there before the main point is made or the punchline is told and that sort of thing. To the point that I've heard one of the stories in your chapter multiple times on the phone, probably in a NACWI webinar, at the Georgia Christian Business and Golf and Girls Conference, And then
Yes.
in the book again, and every time it kind of takes my breath away, kind of takes I think God gave you something special in the storytelling area, which will make a children's book very fascinating, right? Because they want to be surprised. They want to gasp at the end.
Yeah.
Oh, no,
Yeah.
I get the discovery. They
Yes.
want the discovery.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it'll be fun. It's not something, when people say, what do you want to be when you grow up? And it was never something like on my radar. But as I've grown older, I'm like, yeah, this is pretty cool.
Yeah.
I just have to share, I have a granddaughter, two granddaughters, actually. They're all voracious readers, but one that said she wanted to be a writer. Now, when I ask her, she's kind of but she's teenager, so that may come back around.
Mhm.
But the twins that are 9 both have a desire to write. And one of them said, Granny, I really want to write a book. And I'm like, all right, let's do this. Let's do it now,
Yes.
And
And
so,
getting to illustrate the book. And we wrote a book for children who were grieving, and had the grand idea to get one of my nieces to illustrate
illustrate,
all the
I
way
love
through
it.
the book. So she was
Yeah.
an illustrator on Amazon, listed as an illustrator at a very young age. Very exciting.
Yes.
The
So
most exciting thing, of course, is that the message is getting out to people and changing
yes.
their lives. So
Yes. Yes. So I'm hoping that just by me doing this, and I'm going to have it in my hands to show her and then say, let's do your book. So there's a confidence, even if that legacy piece passing on, and I love it. Let's see. How has God increased my confidence through elements of the book? I think, I had verses in my head before, but again, putting it in print is different than just saying it. And so tying those to, like, it's God's word, it's a verse that he impressed, and now putting it out there for others to see that connection. I think it's pretty cool.
It is. I want to take one of the chapters is everyone's key verse from everyone's chapter, kind of one after the other compiled together. I want to take those pages. I mean, books are sacred, so to tear one apart would be just travesty for me, but I really want to take those pages out and put them in my office, so if I want to, just in walking in and out, I can grab at eye level one of those scriptures, because I wrote my own chapters, and I tended to focus on a few specific verses, but it was neat to be encouraged by the verses from everyone.
Different verses. Yes, I think so too. And it may be a verse, I was thinking it may be a verse that has been important before, but you're seeing it from a totally different context or perspective this time.
Well, an example of that is that I used the Hebrews 10 scripture that talks about confidence, and Lana, that was her key verse. I just used it in passing,
right,
to make a point, and made a point with it, but then Lana used it in her entire chapter, and she picked up on one little snippet inside that verse that said that with confidence comes a reward. If you will place your confidence in the Lord, here's the reward.
Great.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
There are lots of overlaps like that in this book. Of course there are. That's what God does when we obey him and follow him obediently.
Yes.
And there are lots of overlaps like that.
It's so fun. I haven't read the whole thing. I can't wait to have the time and Kindle is great, but I love the book. So yeah, that will be super great. I'm trying to remember what else. What are my other things that I need to talk about?
Tell them what you do, because you do talk about that in your chapter, but for the interview purposes, since it's nice and short and succinct and sweet and everything, what you do and where you want them to find you.
I will. Do you mind if I insert one other thing before I tell that?
Oh, sure, yeah.
You mentioned that Nikki helped in the book, and that she's your right-hand man or / woman in this case, but right, she's your partner in working all things in your business here with Rhema. But Nikki is my sister, and you will see her chapter in the book. And I did quickly skim it for her early on, but I didn't really digest everything. And so I have read her chapter again in the Kindle version, probably because she's my sister, but
Sure.
I've kind of walked alongside her in this entrepreneurial journey. And so to see what has happened and transformed in her life through the entrepreneurship, but then in this book and working alongside you, every time my heart just like sings and I'm like, this is so great. Thank you, God, that I've been able to witness that. It's been really exciting. And then to both of us be in the same book, that is a pretty incredible thing.
Which is why we wanted Chase in there. If we ever do get little niece, Nikki's daughter, your niece, to write, and even in a youth book, we might take that chapter and plop it in this book and do a revision of this book, because we wanted, I thought it would be really neat to hear the transition story that they told, from one perspective. Maybe you should have gotten Rob, her husband, to write it as well.
Right.
Well, because no one walks through life, trials, work, and ministry the same. Even if you're doing the same things are happening to you. Your perspective is very unique, and we want to honor that. So I may need your help to kind of tug on some heartstrings.
That would be really fun. And it's so interesting that you said that. And I won't divulge too much information, but I was just in a meeting the other night with some other women, and we were addressing a situation that needed to be addressed, and some things that were conversed about in that meeting, and assessments made about another meeting that had preceded it. And I just, in my heart, I was like, we don't know what went on in that meeting.
Right.
We can assume, we can think we know, we can be told snippets, but none of us were there. But even in this meeting where there's 7 of us, when we walk out of here, we're all going to take a different angle and perspective and think and feel different things about what we heard or said and perceived. And so what you're saying is absolutely true, that the transition of moving and then moving cross country, all those kind of things. Yeah. Right. The different angles, it's the 4 gospels are that they tell us that, right?
That's right.
So God gives us that opportunity, and that's how he wired us. So, and that's how we all learn different.
Right. And we should honor that, before, especially like you're hinting at, before passing judgment or making some sort of assumption.
Yeah. Sometimes it helps us.
Chapter there that probably needs to be.
there is.
I should be taking notes.
Well, have this put down in voice to text, and then it can write it out for you. That's how I told my granddaughter we could write her book, because I said, I can type it for you, or we can have you tell the story. And when you tell the story, we'll put it in print. And she's like, you can do that? Yeah.
Well, and that reminds me of a testimony. One of the books for grieving children that we wrote a series of, Andrew, my son, whose daddy died when he was 4, wrote it in his 20s. He's now in his early 30s. And he talked about it. It was his idea. And I said, well, why don't we write this book together? Well, of course, it never happened until finally I was at a retreat center. A friend owned, like yours and like mine, they owned a retreat center. And I was going to be there by myself. And I said to him, come with me. He couldn't go the same days that I could exactly, but he came. Yeah. And I walked him through, coached him, if you want to call it that, through the writing process, the Pomodoro way, which we often do as our group. And he wrote in one weekend. He wrote that book. And at the end of the weekend, I said, well, why don't you just read through it? He was like, well, it needs lots of changes. There's lots of things that need to be done. He finished and there was nothing. I said, I wouldn't change a thing. It may be a word here and there, and he had talked about his grandfather in the book. And I said, well, you might want to talk to him and let him read through this and see if you've represented him the way that he would want to be represented. And we never changed. We changed a few words and that was it. And the book
was so incredible. That's great.
Yeah. So, I mean, your time with them will, whether you pre-record, it'll be fruitful. If those words are meant to be on paper somehow.
Yes. It's so good. So what I do. So Currently, my husband and I are celebrating 24 years in the construction industry of our business, starting 24 years ago, right now, March. Pretty exciting, but as he gets older, he's turning 60 this week. He is saying that I'm getting tired and I don't want to work so hard in the field. And so we started planning for that a little bit previous to now. So we purchased a farm so he could work more. No,
Just a different kind of work.
a different kind of work. He always says, when are you going to make enough money that I can sit on my tractor? Maybe I write a bunch of books. Maybe it'll pay for him to ride on a tractor. But anyway, on our farm, we have a vacation rental home on a 6-acre lake. And right now it's open to the public for vacation rental, but hopefully we see some transitioning a little bit where some of those weekends are taken by, say, a writing retreat weekend, or couples retreats. I've had people talk about us even doing a financial retreat of some kind, leadership retreats, Christian things, maybe church leadership, that kind of stuff. But anyway, that is one of our things to help replace his income. But I am a financial and business leadership coach, and in that, I've worked with lots of people over the years. My heart really is for entrepreneurs, business startups, people in the construction field, especially because they seem to make really good money, but they don't know where that money goes. And I know that's across the board, but after doing it for 24 years and walking these trenches with all these folks, I'd love to walk alongside them and helping folks whenever they're like, should I start a business? Am I at a place to start a business? And then developing leaders who develop leaders. I recently got some leadership business coaching certification that I want to integrate that with the financial coaching. So, anybody can put their name down and start a business, but there's pieces and parts to that I'd love to walk alongside them in doing that and doing it well.
You just opened Pandora's box.
Yes, that is a whole nother piece. Just started coaching without divulging, again, too much information. Just started coaching someone who they had a business in less than 2 years and probably were smart that they did close it down. But I hate to see it because maybe some prep on the front end could have averted it. Anyway, so that's where my heart really is. And of course, we have our little mini farm here with animals on it.
And the beautiful lake. Yes, we do want to do a writing retreat there. It's not on the books yet, but in the fall.
Hopefully in the fall.
Colors. I have an agenda.
Yes. I told my granddaughter she can be in on the writing retreat.
Oh, yeah.
Come down the hill and come to the writing retreat. Yes.
Absolutely. So I'm going to guess the first place to find you is kimsmithcoaching.com.
So it's actually Kim Smith Coach, because I couldn't get Kim Smith Coaching. So it's kimsmithcoach.com.
And then we can do this. They can either find you there and find all the things, or we can also include, what we're trying to do is put the URLs for where to find you at the end of the video. We can put the Vosel Valley.
Yes, I would love to put that, because if you want to have a retreat somewhere, right now, currently the house sleeps 8. Soon it will sleep 12. And so an intimate retreat is a perfect place with a 6.5-acre lake with kayaks and paddle boat and fishing available. So, yeah.
And then so make sure I have that link before we say goodbye. And then do you want people close to St. Louis to also have the link to the construction business?
Yeah, we can put that in there too. People laugh and ask me, how on earth do I do it? I don't have kids at home anymore, so that makes a difference.
I've seen you at work. You're very diligent.
I am. There are days that I think to myself, I really do need to hire somebody just to take care of all the paperwork for me so I can do all the other, what I call the fun stuff, the stuff I'm more gifted at.
So I will also put a plug in. I have actually been to the farm, but it was before the house was actually really renovated for So I'm looking forward to that. But I have been the recipient of some financial and business coaching that you have offered. And so a testimony from me would be that, one, it wasn't as scary or intimidating as I thought it would be, or even thought
Thank you.
it should be. I
Yes.
mean,
Yeah.
I don't have to divulge anything I don't want to divulge, but it was very informative and I felt so comfortable. And also, I really appreciated, this is just me, but I really appreciated the handouts and forms that you had created, and still use some of them in
Yes.
different capacities to this day. One, because I live inside Excel files more than as a writer, of course, I live inside Word documents, but there's an Excel form, that kind of goes with the Word document, so I know which chapter I'm on. And I mean, I live inside of Excel files.
Yeah.
So those, but I don't know how to make set up formulas and make the Excel
I don't either.
speak. Well, somebody did, because
I know somebody did, and I have some great forms. Yes.
we need each other.
That's right. That's right. I just want to say I appreciate a little statement you made there, and you said it was comfortable.
Yeah.
And this is a God thing, truly. It is one of the comments that I receive the most. Like when people say, what do people say about you? And I'm like, they say, talking about money, I make it comfortable for them. Yeah. And so.
Well, and I think your testimony, your and Jonathan's testimony of, getting to stand with Dave Ramsey and do the We're Debt-Free screen.
Right.
Because you had been relieved of $400 and something thousand worth of debt. Lets people know I don't have to be ashamed to say to her, well, I do have this credit card, or I do have this, or we're trying to pay off our house. We don't know how to do that. There's no shame in that.
Absolutely.
There's hope.
There's hope. Yes. Yeah. Yes. I want to infuse
proof
hope.
In the pudding, that it can be. If you can do it, I can do it too.
Yes. So in my coaching, whether it's the business and financial leadership, I'm here to link arms with you and walk those steps forward.
Right. We need that. When we were very young, first husband, Tim, God rest his soul. When we were very young, I told you this story, but we were just in trouble. We couldn't even figure out how to make ends meet with 3 little babies at home. And we went to, I don't even know if they exist, but some sort of credit agency downtown that was free. And the whole way there, we're shaking in our boots because we were saying things to one another. They're going to blast us because of the debt that we have, or that we can't handle our own budget, or we can't manage month to month, and they're definitely going to tell us you shouldn't be tithing and giving to your church. And of course we got there, and they never said anything of the sort. But they helped us to be more realistic about things. The only thing I really remember from that many years ago was they very clearly said, you're going to have to make some adjustments in your budget, because your budget for 5 people with diapers and formula and all the things, the baby foods and things like that, is unrealistic. It has to increase to be. That's why you're not making ends meet each month. This doesn't even, no one can make fit this budget.
Yes.
So, and that was really freeing. It was a challenge, but it was also very freeing. I mean, it was an adventure. And so I think, looking at financial coaching as, well, this is going to be an adventure. We're going to discover things that we didn't know before. We're going to find loopholes, not illegal loopholes, of course, but, ways of making this work. Because someone showed us something that we couldn't see ourselves. And so
absolutely
more power to you.
I would tell you, I've done 2 4-week classes, one at church in person and one online, actually with Beth Copeland of GCB.
Oh, yes.
And in both of those cases, I've told the folks what I've shared with you in 4 weeks, it will change your life. That is true. There's a lot more that could be learned after the 4 weeks for sure. But if they did those things that were taught in those 4 weeks, their lives a year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now are going to look so different. So it doesn't take a year to change your finances.
No, but we think it does, because it becomes oppressive.
Yeah.
It really does. So one last thing, and 2 last things from me. One is I'm enjoying your live videos. What a gutsy thing to do. I've never been really, once I do one, I'm okay, but getting there is an intimidating process. It's just for an introvert, it's just not
Yes.
fun. It is fun once I start it though.
It's hard. It's hard.
It is
Thank
hard.
you.
Well, there are more things to do than people realize to even prepare for it and then to clean it up afterwards and things like that. But they've been really fun.
Thank
And
you.
so keep up the good work you're
Well,
doing.
thanks.
And then just lastly from me, oh my goodness, Mutual Admiration Society group here. How I just want you to know how much you do know, but I'll tell you again and again, how much I appreciate you, our friendship. Here's a sample, an example is, and you know this about me, I can be an extrovert when it calls for it, obviously, as the president of NACWE with 13,000
Right.
in the ranks, you have to be. When it calls for it, I definitely can. I can entertain, but I do need my time alone and quiet time and that sort of thing. And I'm losing my train of thought. Where was I going with that?
Hmm.
I don't know. I guess what was I trying to say? Now we're gonna have to delete this out of the back of the.
You said something about mutual admiration, and then you said,
I've totally lost my train of thought, but I was trying to say how much I appreciate you. We were talking about you doing those online videos. How once you get started and do them, it's okay. It doesn't hurt as much, and that there's a lot of work to be done there. I don't know where I was going with that. So we'll just delete that off the back of this video. We'll get Callie to delete that off the back of this video.
Okay. So I'm actually in a speaking course right now with Lisa Vander Quack. Anyway, it's gonna put me to the test, but it's good. And so I was actually the one who brought up, I said, I heard of somebody recently doing a 90-day Facebook Live challenge. And I'm like, 90 days. And so we all agreed, it's a very small group, 4 or 5 of us. We agreed that we would do a 30-day Facebook Live. And I said, well, at the end of 30 days, I might be able to continue, but I didn't want to put 90 days and feel so overwhelmed. So here we are, we're working down this 30-day Facebook Live.
Now, I met her at a conference in Dallas. And so just another example of God's, grace.
Yes.
And innovation, intervention and introductions, divine appointments.
Divine appointments, weaving our stories. Yes.
And she needed a ride to the airport. And I thought, well, I live in the area. I know it better than anybody. I'll kind of take, her to the airport. The leader of the conference couldn't do that. And so I did. And we got to know one another that way. And we had so many things in common, being widowed with children, remarried with children, and the complications, being entrepreneurs and trying to, find our way and that sort of thing. So again, another example of, what I was saying was the phone. And here's my introvert story. So as awkward as this is, dear friends, we're going to leave it in here. I hate because I'm an introvert, I think. I hate talking on the phone, but Kim, you are one of the few people I can count on one hand in my life that when we've gotten on the phone, it's just been more fun than a barrel of monkeys. We've been on the phone for hours.
It was such a blessing.
Yes. And I've gotten off the phone and thought, who am I? I'm the person who does that. But we have so many things to talk about. It's always uplifting and encouraging. We always know, we can't just schedule a 15-minute phone call. Neither can we schedule a 15-minute interview.
Right.
Well, I do have another appointment.
Yes, we have to let you go to your appointment. And we haven't covered all the bases, so now we need to schedule a phone call.
Well, God bless you, and let's do more of all of those things.
Yes.
Together.
Love you.
I love you too. Bye-bye.
Bye.